Welcome back, everybody. This is your girl Nachi, and I'm here with
Damaris, your favorite sweet tart.
Sweetheart. That's really fitting for you.
Listen.
I think it describes you.
Sweet and tart.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are just really excited today because today we're going to explore the topic of self love and how we can start showing up for ourselves. And our guest today is the one and only Vida Valdes. She's a spiritual advisor and medium and just an all around beautiful soul who has no problem telling you like it is. And we love that about her. So we just like really excited, Vida, for you to be here and eager just to dive into this conversation about facing difficult truth and loving ourselves. Because I think that's just something that we all have difficulties doing, and we just need to start looking at our truth and start living and loving ourselves better through understanding those truths that's just bringing us down. So we're really happy that you're here. Welcome.
Everybody. How are y'all doing today?
Yes, we're great. So Viva, we've known you for quite some time. You've
Yes.
done readings for us.
Mentorships.
We've done other services.
Sage.
Yes. We love your products. We stand by it. I mean, just everything. And we want our audience to get to know you better and want you to share a little bit about yourself, what you do, what you offer. I know it's a long list,
Yep.
but share a little bit.
Well, as they introduced me, I am Vida Valdes. On all social media platforms, I'm recognized at Readings by Vida. And the name of my company is literally called No Lie, No Joke, The Almighty Pineapple. And that's a joke that started a long time ago when I was doing clients readings and services. They always tell me, "But I don't believe in what you do." I'm like, I don't care what you believe in. It could be Jesus, God, Buddha, Allah. It could be the chocolate dragon or the almighty pineapple. And people cracked up. And every time when someone saw pineapple, they thought of me. So it stuck. And so that became the name of the business. But I have been a spiritual advisor and an ancestral rituals practitioner for almost 35 years now. I started at the age of, well, I'm about to say how old I am. I started at the age of 14
It was
with
like
the
5 years
guidance and
ago, right?
long time ago, under the guidance and tutelage of my grandmother, who did this work, who was an espiritista or a medium in Cuba. I offer readings, consultations, mentoring sessions. I do packages, I do programs, I do in-person events. I am an ordained minister. I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist. I do hypnosis sessions. I do past life regressions, Akashic readings. I mean, the list goes on. And it didn't start that way. It just started with just the channeling. I would receive information ever since I was little. And then expand out to our online botanica, which we have services there that we can do like virtually for clients, as well as video consultations. But my family and I create and curate our handmade and vegan products that come from our ancestors' recipes, like to help all of your spiritual, energetic needs, anything that you're concerned about, money, health, love, whatever, anything you can think of, we have something for it. And we have about
Right.
275 products at this time. Yeah, so we're also a distributor for Florida Water, the OG. We're also a distributor
Okay.
for Cuselas, the OG colognes. We get a lot of our stuff from different places, but it's all ethically sourced. Like all of our sages and our wands are ethically sourced from the tribes here in the United States.
Nice.
We support the first people. It's more expensive, believe it or not. You can get it from China, no, todo eso, you know that. But we get our stuff from here. We get our crystals and stuff from our miner. We have a miner that actually goes out to different countries and it's ethically sourced as well. So we get our crystals from ethically sourced places. But I do a lot of things, but I'm also an elder in the Santeria and Ifa or La Regla de Ocha traditions, which is part of African traditional religions. And I'm an elder in that tradition. And I'm a wife and a mom. And the community named me Mama Vida years ago, and I take that title very seriously. So I mother my community to the best of my ability. And sometimes being a mom is hard. So sometimes you got to get on your kids' butts and say something.
Yeah.
That part, that part. So people know known me for. the tough love, they'll see me like barking or yelling something on a 1 minute video on social media somewhere like this lady's crazy. But when they start reading or seeing the whole video or reading the testimonials or seeing the content that I'm posting, they're like, oh, she's saying it
Right.
because of this and this and this and this. So there's always a backstory as to why I'm getting to that point because my job as a BIPOC, traditional, religious, spiritual person, all those titles, right, is about your honesty and transparency. And that's something that everybody, and I'm not going to say, I'm not hating.
Right,
Everybody got, you got do your game, make money, but everybody now is into spirituality and energy. I'm like, but when I was doing
right.
it, when I started out, we were quiet. We never announced like, "Oh, yo hago esto and I do this y pa aquí, pa allá." We never this was always my
Right,
reputation is always been by
right.
word of mouth. So and it continues to stay that way. And that's what I love. So community talks about me in other spaces. Some people like me, some people don't like me, but I'm
Yes, you
not for
have.
everybody. And I've always said that.
Yes,
Yes,
you
and
have.
yes,
I'm not for everybody.
we do.
Let me say like como dice mi abuela, I have a particular flavor.
Mm.
You may like it or not.
Yeah, well,
It's
it's
That
funny.
okay.
part.
You're absolutely right about the word of
That
mouth in your community because I found you through Nachi. Nachi, she is like the IG queen and she finds like all of these great personalities in people and you were one of them. Yeah, and so she was like, "Oh my gosh," she's like, "Oh, Vida, that's great. You need to follow her, whatever." So I did, and I would enjoy your card of the day, or whenever you would just do like, I say your 2 cents about something. And for me, it wasn't about like, oh my goodness, you're like this person that's just like unapproachable. You were just kind of like, I felt like, girl, I know you. You're from New York. You give me that flavor. Like, yeah. And you're just telling it like it is. And I'm one that's very much about, I'd rather hear the ugly truth than to hear a pretty lie. Right. So then, yeah, I don't need to be coddled. But
mhm,
again, that's not for everybody. And that's fine too, right? You always say follow your
right.
intuition. And so if your intuition says don't listen to her, don't listen to her. Period.
It's all
Right.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
I could sleep at night. See, I've run into practitioners and I've run into people who keep messing with people or keep saying like, and I'm not saying that some practitioners don't
Yeah.
have the gift. I believe everybody has the gift of intuition. I say that every day, but
Yeah.
not everyone is
Right.
meant to be a spiritual advisor. Not everyone's meant to be an elder. Just because you have these abilities doesn't mean you have to be on a spiritual tangent. Sometimes people forget that your abilities can enhance your personal life and your career and your business. It could be marketing, it could be accounting, it could be criminal justice, it could be cosmetology, it could be everything. Like think about it, and I find so weird at times because now this new span, everyone's doing services. I'm like, but what were you
Right.
doing before? And why didn't you continue that? Why didn't you blow that up? I have people all the time like, oh, I want to be a spiritual advisor.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
why? Do you not know how heavy
Well,
this
it's
work
very
is? Because this works for
'Cause
everybody.
I'm like, this is definitely heavy work. I couldn't even imagine carrying that
yeah.
load and being that support for such a large community. We thank you.
And that's why we have the platform, right? And this is how we support it with our platform and giving you the space to share your insight and your wisdom. And part of that, of the topic today about self love, is because you have this program of Love Thyself. And I remember when you came out with this probably a little over a year ago, maybe, or was it longer than that?
I completely get it, and I still have people now who ask me about the
Mhm.
program, like, the program, it is what it is, it's 12 weeks. It's 12
And it's
weeks that
commitment.
we sit
And you have to do
together.
the work.
Every we check I'm checking you. Like, again, it's not even about facing yourself. It's about embracing yourself. And that's the problem. People think like, oh, like you said, facing your ish. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying you're wrong because you do. But also, why can't you embrace that side of you? Like,
Mhm.
why is it so demonized? You know what I'm saying? Because again, this is the culture, as being indigenous to, the island of Cuba, and that's where my family's from. We are notorious, and we were just talking about that most Caribbean people, I'm not saying all, so
Matters.
don't come from my head. I'm not saying all, but but most Caribbean people are narcissistic sociopaths. We come from that space. Aquí quemando
Yep.
soy yo. That's narcissism. If you don't understand, that is complete narcissism. And then you
Mhm.
see it and we make fun of it. And a lot of us Hispanic people, we make memes out of it because
It's
it's funny
ridiculous.
as hell because we realize like, yo, we some jacked up people. Like you see, oh, perfect example. Like what's his name?
Yeah,
LeBron James, right? That yo, he's always
yeah,
he's always putting
yeah.
out the narcissism. Come on, and but guess
You're
what?
like, "Ah," you're like, "True, I remember
Every
that. Getting beat for this." Like,
every time, and like, and if they love him, but if somebody like me says it, like, "Oh, why you saying that?" Like, because it's the truth,
mhm,
and I'd rather you embrace that side of you. And look, I can see a narcissist from a mile away because I was
right.
raised by them, and I was one. Hello, I don't walk
No,
away from my look. I call
yeah,
myself my
And I
own.
like the
You know
fact
what
that you
I'm saying?
say it's about embracing yourself because I think that that was the missing piece for me. It was like,
mhm,
oh, I'm not ready for to deal with this and not fully understanding the embracing part.
right,
I think that's where I'm at right now in my life. It's just like, okay, I am who I am,
Right,
and this is, I just need to love her the way she is, not trying to change her to
right.
be something or
mhm,
someone else, but who you are right now.
You got it. You got it.
yes,
But that's difficult. That's very difficult. If you don't even know how to navigate. Because again, remember, we are surrounded in a space, in a setting, in a
yeah,
culture, not just Caribbean, but an American culture that thinking
yes,
is good and feeling is bad. So to feel has been trained and integrated in you that you have been taught, trained, and conditioned to
yes,
love other people before you love yourself. So you serve everybody else but you. And then
yeah.
you wonder why you're always
And I think
depleted.
about too, I used to have a limited definition of what I thought self-love was, right? I in the past it was like, and this was before I met you, and then you kind of flipped that on its head for me because you made me think about things a certain way when we had our private reading. And there was in the past I would think of it more like, oh, I have a high self-esteem. Of course I love myself. I'm beautiful inside and out. That was my definition. With the addition of like also self-preservation of myself was to have boundaries. So I was always very clear with boundaries when it came to work, acquaintances, friends. But I realized though, as I got older, that my boundaries were blurry with family and really close friends. So, and those are like the biggest perpetrators, right? But that was my
Hey,
definition of
all
self-love. And
day.
I'd say that then when after I had my reading with you, and then just like the last 5 years have just been very transformative for myself, especially with the passing of my father. It's just like there's a lot of things that came to life for me. And one of those things was about the biggest part of self love, my self love journey is having grace and compassion for myself. I did not have that. It was non existent. And it was you that told me, you said, you are extremely hard on yourself. And I'd never thought about that, but I'm like, "Oh my god, I am." While, when it comes to my family and friends, if they ask me for a pep talk or some encouragement, I'm like a football coach. I'm like straight up, I'm like, "Get your head in the motherfucking game, do this stuff. You got this." Like, I'm not easy. Like, don't come to me if you want like some sweet talk. No, it's never gonna be that. But for myself, I know with Madeline and Gabe, my niece and nephew, I'm like, "What is this? Get over yourself. Stop it. You could do this." And I'm like, "You're amazing. You got this." And I'm like, I'm a football coach. But with myself, I'm a prison warden. I'm worse. I'm like, "You are not what is wrong with you?"
Right.
Because I know I could do better, but it's like, what is this I could do better? Like, it's just I gave myself no grace, no wiggle room, no compassion. And you brought that to my attention in a way that I had never really considered. And it was that perspective that really shifted for me. I was like, okay, sometimes I have to give myself a hug. Something before I even get into I have to talk myself like, girl, you're the best. Stop playing. Because you told me you were like, this society is never going to treat you great because you're a black woman. So why would you do this to yourself? Why would you add to this? And you told me that. And I was like, you're right. And I think people also, sidebar, when you hear reading, it's like I think people are like, oh my gosh, he told you the future. No, you in particular told me about myself. You were like, girl, this and it was just like, there wasn't this like, oh, crystal ball, oh my God. It was just like, this is how you're limiting yourself. You're not getting to
Right.
your
That part.
highest potential because you've conditioned yourself for XYZ reasons. So for me, that's how my view of
Yep.
self-love has expanded. I'd love to hear more about what your thoughts on that, especially in the context of like your program, right?
So, Love Thyself is a 12-week program where I provide services for you. But in these services, they are custom tailored for the individual. meaning that we see each other every week. There's no recordings. There's no like recorded modules that I send you. No, no, no. You're paying to see me every week. And I am here to be your mirror. And I'm going to mirror back everything that you don't like about, even the stuff that you think you can dress up and put some pretty lipstick on it and like go the other way, like,
You're like,
hey, like, no, I'm like, I see you. Like, I see that reflection right in that corner. Yeah, where's that at? Like, where we going with that? So the whole purpose of this is I was not happy with my life. And I thought it had to do with my marriage.
mm,
Then I thought it had to do with my children. Then I thought that it had to do with my work. Then I even thought it had to do with my animals. And now everybody knows I'm a fanatic with my dogs. And then I thought it had to do with my, like my social media. I'm like, that's it. I'm quitting. Da-da. You know how many times I've told my husband, like, I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. He's like, okay, I'll
okay.
see you on social media tomorrow. I'm like, huh, right? But then I realized I have been taught to think that something else is going to complete me when I'm the only one that can complete me. So this started in 2016. We were just hitting our 3-year wedding anniversary for me and my husband. And I'm like, so what is this? And so I started doing this work 4 years before I even launched it to the public. So something that took 3 months for most people. And some people believe it or not, some people come back and do it again. I've had people do it twice, 3 times, because remember, we're layers. Yeah. No, no, no. I've had people, matter of fact, I have one person in particular, due to their past, we do it every year. Every year, because again, those 12 weeks pass, layers are peeled, and we see more of ourselves. Okay, I need help with this now. Because remember, everything you've ever dealt with in your entire life has to do with a relationship.
Mhm.
Whether it's a relationship with a parent, a significant other, even your adversary is a relationship. Your children, your neighbors, your colleagues, your coworkers, past, present, or even future. But people keep forgetting that the most important relationship is the relationship of self, because you're stuck with yourself forever. I don't care how many times you distract yourself to take care of everybody else, you are still stuck with you. So, si tú quieres estar, mete mano with everybody. Like, oh, I gotta take care. Did so and so eat? I gotta call them and check out. It's like, yo, that shit used to kill me. I remember my grandmother. To this, no lie, God rest her soul. My grandmother, before even 6 months before she passed away, she would still call me like every day. Comiste? I'm like, what is? Mind you, I'm like, yeah. She, oh, el niño comió. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't feed my son. Like, okay, but I mean, like, mind you, you're the one that raised me. Like you had a big part of my raising along with my mom. But like, again, it's that culture, right? So when I started really figuring out that it was nobody else's responsibility to make me complete, oh, that's when the real fun came out. Let me tell you. And I'm like, yo, if I can do this, anybody can do this, because I have a horrific past. And I'm like, and it's not to the point that it was based on my family, but my family, God loved them, but they only did what they knew. They were taught, trained, and conditioned to love other people before they even loved themselves, especially the women in my family. The women in my family bent over backwards, sacrificed their dreams, their goals, their aspirations for everybody else, and then resented everyone from their loving babies to their loving, doting husbands or parents to the point of no return, because they were never satisfied, because they had to sacrifice. And then the men in my family had to sacrifice, but it was always behind closed doors. And so they found vices, whether it was drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, working too long, other women, other things. I mean, I wouldn't put that because they've all done it. We all have tenemos un vicio. Look, my vicio as a child was food. I was addicted to food because that's the only way I felt complete, because I couldn't talk to my grandparents.
It was the one thing
My
you
mother
can
was always
control
working 2
too.
to 3 jobs because she was a single parent. Guess what? You know how hard it is to fight an addiction to something that you have to survive? Believe me, I know. And my highest weight was 260. I had diabetes. I had sleep apnea. I'm like, what are we
Right.
doing? Like, I'm about to kill myself. Literally, the doctor told me, like, if you don't stop, you're going to die. I'm like, because my numbers were like up there. So I'm like, yo, I gotta take care of me. And the only person responsible for me is me. I can blame my husband. I do the same thing my grandma did. Oh yeah, you did this, and this is why I did this. I'm like, that's complete ass narcissism. I'm like, damn, I'm a narcissist. Like
Yeah.
shit. You have to call yourself out. And this beautiful program, it is so unnerving, but it's so beautiful when you accept that other side of yourself. All the things that you are afraid of, why are you afraid of it? Because other people told you to be afraid of it. Like the fact that I am willingly open to talk about my mental health, and I've never been shy about that. I talk about it with my clients in these sessions. Like I have, and I'll say it right now on your podcast,
Mhm.
I have attempted suicide twice with my children in the
Yeah.
house. That's a problem. And I'm not the only one, and I'm not the only Caribbean woman who doesn't want to wake up days. And guess what? That's hello, come on. I don't care if you have kids. I don't care if you marry, you single. That's just facts.
Yeah, and it just
Especially
goes
if
to
you
your
back
point
around.
with if you're setting that parameter or that level where you say to yourself, okay, if I do this for my children or if I'm that for my husband or my partner, that's going to make me complete. And to your point, you're never going to be satisfied. There's always going to be something else. And I was thinking about that the other day too. It's just like, when is enough enough? Like,
That
this
part.
should be enough,
That
and
part.
be happy right now with what you have. Like, why is it always striving to get
If I
more,
have
do
this,
more?
it'll be
Right.
so much better.
Yes. If I have a bigger house, if I had a nicer car, if I had a better job, it's always something else you tend to kind of bring forth, thinking that that's going to fix whatever issue you're having.
Nope.
And
Nope.
it's never ending. When you
Nope.
think about it, it's just like never ending,
Nope.
because it's always, even if you buy a bigger house, you got bigger problems that
It's
go
like
along with a
Bigger
bigger house,
mortgage.
right?
hello. That's not that right now. No, completely understand. I completely understand. And the crazy thing is
Yeah.
because we were trained that way. We were trained like you have to work hard. You be successful. The bigger the house, the more money you got. And the
Yes.
more money you got, the better you look to people. My family was obsessed. My family to this day, half of them, they still like that. I don't care if they agree with me or not. To this day, they still obsessed. Like, mira, y fulano y
Juanito, like,
fulana,
who?
got this y this
Juanito.
y this. Like, oye, pero, y fulanita y el hijo y el niño, la nena, hizo colegio y ¿por qué tú no hiciste nada? I'm like, first of all, mind your business. That's what I'd be saying. And I am notorious. My cutoff game is so good. I have references and I don't care. Like I tell people all the time, if I could cut off my own brother, I have a half brother, and I can cut off my father. Who thinks I can? I
Right.
can't cut off the rest of my family because I've done it before. And it's not even that I don't love my family. And let me get that out of the way. I love every person that's connected to me biologically. I love all my relatives. I just don't like 99% of
Yes,
them.
absolutely.
Liking and loving. Let me tell you
Yes.
something. Let me tell you something. I don't like 99% of those mother effers. You hear what I'm saying? I don't like your behavior. I don't like the way you
Right.
talk to me. I don't like the way you talk about me. You got my number. My number hasn't
Right.
changed for 15 years. ¿Y qué te pasa? Ahí, tú quieres hablar de mí? Come tell me. Come tell me what you don't like about me. And we can have an adult conversation. We can agree to disagree. But that's the problem. Everybody wants to talk around everybody, but nobody wants to deal with their own crap. Why do you feel the need that you have to talk about somebody else?
Yes.
Because something is lacking in you. And I was doing the same exact thing. So that's when I knew I'm like, oh, I'm using all these tactics. The same people I
Right.
swore I didn't want to become, I was becoming. Man, listen, that hit me dead in my tracks a long time ago. My son said something to me. I'm like, who you talking to? He's like, well,
Mm.
dad does it. And that's from my ex-husband. I'm like, oh, he mimicking. I'm like, if I don't change, he gonna be just like this. And so I had to change my life. And that was a whole other spiral right there. And I did not like who I was.
Right.
And that was one of my first attempts. And then after I lost some loved ones, that was my second attempt because they were my foundation. But then I realized I was waiting for people to be my foundation
Right.
when I was my foundation all along. But they don't teach us that. They teach us to believe. They teach us to take care of our family, but they don't teach us how to love ourselves. They don't teach us how to deal with our emotions. They don't teach us to make sure that we come first. Because the problem is in our culture that we keep putting everybody else first We lose ourselves in those relationships, and then we're not authentic to ourselves. And then we think, oh, if I help them, if I get this out of the way, then they'll be taken care of. Well, guess what? You're still neglecting yourself, and you're emptying your own cup when your cup was already empty. So now you're running on fumes. ¿Y
No,
qué es eso?
it's like if you can't love yourself,
So
then
the
how are you capable of loving anyone else? How are you capable of being fully present with anyone else if you're not even fully present with yourself? I think for me, and I've said this in other episodes, growing up, I've always have had some level of introspection where I'm always asking myself, why do I feel this way? And I keep asking the why, and I peel back and I'm like, oh, it's really this that's bothering me. But in the last 5, 6 years, I've done it even more so, where it's like, "Oh, okay, this is where I need to set this boundary, like, oh, I can't do this. No, no." And I will say I've been good about putting myself first in general because I just look, I like rest but I've gone through, especially when I was working in corporate, this whole idea of, like, constantly running and doing, and that was, again, something else you called me out on. You're like, "You're always doing." And so I always had a level of like, I want to say like energy around me of like, because I always felt like I wasn't doing enough, even though I was constantly doing. Tu eres vaga,
culture.
if you rest for like 20 minutes, if you're not up before 7 o'clock in the morning, you don't have vaga. Like, why you lazy? I'm like, I'm just trying to sleep. Like,
Right.
Malcriada,
Right.
malcriada, malcriada. Estás ahí durmiendo hasta las 8 de la
don't
mañana. ¿Qué
sleep
te
till like I
pasa?
said, like
Mira, I remember
what?
those
Why
conversations
can't
like,
vacuuming happen at 11 a.m.? We don't have any guests coming today. Like, it's just crazy. And so, but it's
mm,
putting yourself first. And that, to your point, we don't put ourselves first, especially in this culture. And it's like, you're selfish if you
yep,
do, but it's like, no, I'm so full.
yep.
And that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, if my cup ain't full, I can only give you what flows over.
That part. That part. And I understand why in our culture we were like that, but I keep telling people you have to dig deeper. Think about why your family, your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors did this. Because back in the day, we were a communal environment. We had to make sure that the whole community survived the next season. That was what we were supposed to do. But then when we started walking in more individualistic places and we started becoming more democratic or communist spaces, right? Depending which country we come from, our power got taken away. Our power got taken away by the people in power,
Right.
who say they're for the people, by the way. And then the people who took our power away, we felt helpless. So our elders, our mothers, and our fathers, well, si yo no tengo fuerza aquí, I know where I have fuerza en mi casa. Y aquí que mando soy yo. That's where that started because our
Right.
families lost their power from the people in power, the people that were supposed to represent the well being of our communities, our culture, our tradition, our lineage. And so our power got taken away. So now we dominate the ones we can, the wife, the mother. So don't think them, because even children do this shit to their mothers, the mother, the children, the grandparents when they get old and feeble and they can't really fight for themselves. And guess what? That is narcissistic sociopathic tendencies. But the thing is, the whole point about this program was never to be like, oh, I'm going to call you out. It's like, how can we take this energy that you don't like about yourself and transform it into something you can accept about yourself? Why does it have to be bad? Why is your dark side? Why is your shadow so bad? It's not bad. It's just misunderstood. Why can't you have negative feelings? Why can't you have negative thoughts? Who told you this lie? Let me tell you something. I have, as many years I've been praying,
Okay.
because I be praying and meditating every day. As many years as I've been praying, I have never heard the creator, never heard a guardian angel, an archangel, cualquier cosa que, wherever I connect, I have never heard them say to me, never in my life, you got to be positive. Why are you so negative? Never, never. Let me tell you something. Positivity and negativity is a human construct. It's never been about positive or negative. It's about what did you learn? And that is literally the lesson in the evolution of life. And if you didn't get it, guess what happens? You get to do it again. But then people don't like that. And then but check this out. I'm gonna break this down real quick. But we've been failing our entire lives, and people
Yes.
are so scared of failure. But we've been failing our entire lives, and people don't understand. Failure is the prerequisite for success. Let me ask you all a question. Did you learn how to do your hair on your own the first time? Did you learn how to do
Nope.
your makeup by yourself the first time? Did you learn how to put a bra on by yourself
Right.
the first time?
No,
Oh, I know.
right.
We all like, "¿Qué es esto? What's this?" So basically, you were
Right.
failing and you kept failing until you became a success at it. So why is it so hard for people to be
Right.
successful? It's not that hard. The problem is we don't like the failure
Yeah.
because that means we have to keep learning until we become a success. What's that saying? I don't like the saying, but it's said a lot,
Right.
so I'm gonna say it. Practice makes perfect. We've been failing from the time we learn how to walk, but we wouldn't even know how to say the words right. Like, oh, leche. No, mijo, es leche. No, we get corrected and we get taught until we learn. So, but we don't say, look, I say this all the time. My clients laugh at me. And I say this during Love Thyself. You don't learn how to walk the first time. You did not learn. You didn't they, oh, I'm walking. No, you fell down, you fell on your ass, and nobody in the room was like, oh my God, that baby's such a goddamn failure. No one said that. No one says that shit. What do they say? Oh, the baby is learning. So why is it that children and babies can get the benefit of learning, but we as adults can? Because people think that once we stop going to school, that we stop learning. No, we do not. No, we do not. We continue to evolve. We continue to learn. We continue to grow. And that's the part of Love Thyself. With Love Thyself, you are learning about yourself with no filter. You actually get to see what you like and what you don't like. Like, you know what? I really didn't want to do this shit for my kids and my husband. Okay, then why are you doing it? Oh, because who,
Yeah.
if I don't do it,
Figure it
who will?
out. They'll
They
figure it
will.
out.
They'll learn. Mira, it's called en Google. They like this anyway. They are, mira, hasta los viejitos. My mother has 3 iPads and 2 phones. What is that about? Like, no, necesito uno para mi jueguito y otro para mi televisión. Like, and I love her for it because you know what? But again, you can Google all things, right? They'll figure it out because if you keep serving from an empty cup, you will end up sick. And I'm talking about physical sickness. You will drive yourself to the point of some type of illness, sickness, or disease, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical. And let me, and I put the icing on the cake, and it can actually be financial. Oh, and I know many people in our culture sigue pagando por esto y ayudando a fulanito, ayudando. Mira, I have to help my son. Why? Why can't your son get up and do something? Why you have to take care of everybody?
Yeah.
You need to learn. But the whole program of Love Thyself is not about taking you apart. It's about building you up and learning who you really are and what you like and what you don't like, not what you were taught, not what you were trained, not what you conditioned to do. And when people find out who they are, and that usually happens between the 5th and 6th week of the program, they're like, oh my God. And some people see changes within a week just by some tips that I give them. I'm like, yo, do this and do this. And they're like, and they get it. And then
Right.
now they
They
don't want to
shouldn't.
settle for less.
They should expect the best. They should look the best.
That part. That part. But
Yeah.
I agree. But remember,
Yeah.
we're still connected to a family,
And a
to a community
society.
that still thinks this way.
I
Girl, don't even start. We are a patriarchal colonized society. Okay, don't even get me started. I hate
right.
colonization like a man. Listen, people can appreciate, they don't gotta appropriate. But again, that's neither here nor there. But even when it comes to love, this patriarchal colonized society, as Black and brown Latina women, we get paid the less, we get treated like crap, we get put down all over the internet. We are never good enough. And even our man, hasta que our
Us.
own kind drag us through the mud. And then we wonder why we don't have
Right.
a stable community. And then we have to find outsiders who are allies who can lift us up because sometimes the allies are giving us more
Right.
support than our own bloodline. I've had the biggest supporters with Love Thyself. They were not even my own.
Not all kinfolk are kinfolk.
Everybody, yo, all day, every day. My mother has been the only one who supports me 1000%, even though she doesn't like it. And the beautiful thing is that my mother, at between 78 and 79, like I said before we started, she's finally learning about herself. And I'm so proud of her because it was so hard for her to understand that we're not saying things to you because we don't like you. We're saying it because we
Right.
love you and we know you deserve better. So she deserves peace. And peace is love. But love is loving yourself, flaws, and that part. Well, no, because
Caring about
no,
what people think
how
about
do I
you.
look? How do I look? Because
And you, as you always say, it's not your
that part.
business what other people think about you. No.
None. They don't pay me. They're not paying me. Their opinions is not paying my
No.
bills. Their opinions not paying your bills. They're gonna, Mira, what I've learned in this life, people are gonna talk about you when you're doing good. People are gonna talk about you when you're doing bad. So you might as well do whatever you want because they gonna talk about you no matter what. Especially those who don't want to deal with themselves. They're willing to talk all this crap about everybody else, including you, but they won't face themselves. That's a problem. That is a problem. And love thyself is not about putting people down, but it's about your realization and embracing your shadow, embracing your darkness, and integrating it because you cannot get to the light without the dark. Think about it. We were created in the womb in darkness to get to the light. And people are so afraid, like, no, it's shadow work. It's papi difícil. It's shadow work. I'm like, the shadow work gets you to the light, though. Like, again, that's your realization. You get catapulted. And
No,
sometimes we don't like
because
getting
then you
catapulted.
have to be accountable. Because
But
what ends up
that's the
happening is
thing.
that you're forced to realize that it's been you that's been holding you back, that it's you that's stopping you from being your best. And that is a hard truth. And it's one that, like, it's not easy to accept. I'm exhausted, and now she knows. It's like when we have like certain friends and they just keep doing the same thing over. I've already told them, like, I'm tapping out, Nachi, because Nachi has she is much more easier. She's like much more diplomatic with certain folks about how to deliver certain messages. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Shit don't make sense. You looking stupid now, but that's not always going to be received well, right? And I get that. And I'm like, so I have to tap out because that's my boundary. And I'm like, y'all gonna drive me crazy, and I'm just not gonna. I'm not here for it. And so,
Right.
but it's a lot of it's repeated because it's like that's you doing. You're choosing, right?
So don't entertain it. Don't entertain it, ma. Like, you could say that, like, I love you, but I don't like
No,
your
I
behavior.
and
You
that's why
keep
I just
doing
be
the
like,
same thing.
I'm like,
No,
And I'm not.
even now, we were talking about a friend of ours, and she was just like, I cannot when I speak to her, I'm gonna tell her about herself. And I said, Damaris, I don't know if she's gonna receive what you're saying in the way you're
and
like, yeah. And
But
she was just like, well, you know what? I'm not gonna even speak to her. I'm a
that
step
part, like,
back
again, like,
and
you
let
that
let
part,
the let it
that
fall
part.
where
I
it
was like,
fall.
the creator inspires her to
That
reach out to me, then that means that I'm gonna just be me and I'm gonna share what I want to share. But if she doesn't reach out to me, that's okay. I'm not going to tell her what I think because I'm also not that type, but I'm just gonna not filter what I think if you ask me, And so I'm like,
Right. No,
why?
of course not.
You
No,
something about you ain't clicking, so let me help click that for you.
honey, it's called toxic behavior. It's called, no, again, shall I say it?
Right.
Narcissism. Like, that's what it is. Like, come on, that's what it is. When you don't think anything's
But
wrong,
you.
you
Yeah.
think everybody else is wrong but
Yes.
you. Come on. That's narcissism. No, 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 no. I get it. But you know what? You don't gotta the beautiful thing is,
No,
why are you
and you're right.
entertaining it? You don't got to. It's called, yeah, it's called, mira, do not disturb. Matter of fact, it's called restrict. But matter of fact, I'm gonna make it better. It's called block
No,
in real life.
you're right.
Like, that way, when things come up, like, oh, I haven't spoken to Damaris, and then Nachi said, well, I don't know, is there something that happened? And you could play the diplomat all you want and be like, you know what? Maybe you need to reach out to my sister. Like, I've tried, but you
Right.
tried. Try harder. Because then you have every time something. No, sometimes you have to put that boundary up too. You have to try harder because
Mhm.
if you keep giving that same person constant attention, love, encouragement, and the sacrifice of your time and energy, y todavía no siguen con la mente correcta. Come on. No, no, no. Nah, come on. We
Right.
growing here. We grown. Come on. We grown. We grown. We're not 10. We're not 10. We're not 10. We're not 10. We're not even
Right.
15. Like, we grown. We grown as adults, and you still doing the same shit and expecting no one to call you out, then mija, you got a problem. And if you're that delusional, then
Yep.
stay in that world. Doesn't mean you gotta be a part of it. You don't gotta connect with that. And that's something that I teach as well during Love Thyself. Again, like, we talk about relationships, we talk about forgiveness, we talk about your emotions, we talk about fear, we talk about
Oh, dude.
imposter syndrome. Oh, that's a big subject in Love Thyself. We break down money issues. We break down the way you think about yourself. We break down everything. In those 12 weeks, those are tailored to you. That's why it's a one-to-one program. It's not there can never be a group program for Love Thyself. Because Love Thyself is literally one-to-one, and it's an investment. And people's like, oh, I can't afford it. I said, but you can afford the new iPhone. You can afford
If you
Love
really
Thyself.
want it, you'll find a way because you
Let me
find
tell
a
you
way to
something.
get anything else, that
Right.
vacation, that new car, that whatever. you make, you find a way to.
And I say this, and I say this every time. I said, "Oh, let me ask you a question." I said, "If your child or your partner, you knew that they will benefit from this program, would you not make it happen for them?" But of course, I said, "Well, why won't you make it happen for yourself?" You have to be the most important person in your life, because if you cannot love yourself at 1,000%, how do you expect anybody else to love you at that same capacity? It starts with you. You are the example. You are the energy that you want to carry in this world. If you don't vibrate at that specific energy, nothing else is going to match that energy. Now you could be up here or you could be down here. It don't matter. But if you want people to connect with you on an energetic and true, compassionate, understanding, and cohesive, because that's the word, cohesive environment, then they have to meet you at that same level. But if you're not giving yourself that love, how do you expect anybody to see you in that love? If you can't think that you're smart enough, how do you expect anybody else to believe that you're smart enough? That's a conversation I have with my kids all the time. Like, oh, but so and so thinks
Right.
that. Let them think what they want, as long as you know the truth about yourself. And guess what? Your energy, your light, your vibration, your frequency is going to
Right.
emit in places where they cannot. And that's love thyself. Love thyself is literally embracing that shadow aspect, that darkness of you, and alchemizing it, turning into something great. What is an alchemist? An alchemist is a person who turns base metal into gold or silver. I don't care what flavor you like, but we can get that negative energy and we can transform it into something beautiful. But you have to be willing to do the work and show up for yourself,
Yeah.
because no one else is going to do it for you. Nobody. And that's the hardest part for some of my people. And I have had people, I have
Yeah.
a broadcast channel on Instagram. It's called the Pineapple Gang. And I literally put up a poll up. It's funny how you bring this up. I put up a poll yesterday. Who's done Love Thyself? And either the poll was, I've done it and I'm doing great. I know about it, but I'm scared. I don't know what Love Thyself is, right? I had so many people say, I
Right.
know about it, but I'm scared. Why are you scared about yourself? Why are you scared about yourself? Because honey,
Yeah.
you know everything you did, whether you want to admit it or not. And you're still here, and you're still living, and you're still breathing, and you're still doing for other people. What is it going to take for people to understand that when you accept yourself, flaws and all, that's when the universe starts calibrating at a different vibration? People think that they
Right.
have to be so good for the universe to open the doors. You
And
do
it's
your best,
actually
let the
quite
universe take care of
liberating
the rest.
are when you actually just accept and you ask yourself the questions of the why do I feel this way, and realize what it is that you're doing. It's liberating because then you know how to address it, right? Like, it's just like, oh, okay, it's just me shifting my mindset on this. And not to trivialize it, but it's that simple though. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it really doesn't have to be complicated. It's only complicated because you're told that it should be more complex. Like, this, X, this is how your life should be. According to
Mhm,
who?
mhm.
Why? I'm not happy this way.
That part.
I'm like, yeah. So
Humans humans always push their ethics, their morals, their religion, their politics, even their opinions on how you should be living. But I've never heard spirit or an ancestor, my creator, or any other element that I work with tell me that I'm not doing
right,
good enough. They always tell me to keep going. It doesn't matter if that's positive or negative. Guess what? Positivity
right.
and negativity are human
Yeah.
constructs.
Okay.
Time is a human construct. Okay, like I tell people all the time, like, when's the last time? Nah, I say this in the most loving way. They just look at me like I'm crazy. When's the last time you heard God
Right.
say you ain't
Not
shit? Like, when's the last time you heard
not
that?
never.
You never have. Not even
Not never.
you
You say that to
never have.
yourself.
But God say it all the time. Humans do it all the time. So now
Mm,
you think, because we're humans, that when it comes to loving yourself, that you gotta be a specific way. I am messy. I am so messy when it comes to loving myself. Oh my gosh. And there's still days I slip into like mommyhood, like, and I'm like, oh, what are they? These are grown ass kids. Guess what? I don't cook in this house. Not like I used to, not every day, Monday to Friday. Oh, no, no, no. There's 5 people in this house. I'm one of the 5. All y'all's grown. All y'all can figure something out. Mira, hasta la dama chiquita, hasta mira. Everybody in this, guess what? You wanna know why? Because when I do things for
mm,
y'all every day, I get burnt out. So if we all share the responsibility, it's more balanced on an even playing field, and we all can get what we need. Last night, perfect example. I had errands to run. My youngest says, puts it in our family chat, I'm
Perfect.
cooking tonight.
I love it.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. The other day, my son did it. The day before that, my stepson. The other day, my husband. And I cooked maybe like 5 days ago because I had everybody at my house,
Right.
but todavía everybody ate. Like, but still, like, why can't you share the responsibility? Why can't the cohesiveness of you being yourself actually voice like, you know
You
what?
broke a
I don't
generational
have it
curse
in me
right
to
there.
cook tonight.
Where it's like the expectation that the woman of the house is
And
doing all of this. You're feeding everybody, you're doing XYZ.
oh, don't get me started about that. Don't get me that.
It's 4 of us here, and I'm the only one who typically
Nope.
It's
cooks, and I'm like,
crazy.
I can't cook
It's
every
crazy.
single
Nope.
night." I was like, "Okay, I'll cook 3 times a week. That's my limit." I'm like, "3 times a week. Y'all figure out what you're gonna eat." Because I have a 13 and a 15-year-old. They
Yes.
know
They
how to
fine.
fix
They not.
yes, they know how to
Yes.
fix their
They
meal.
fine. Exactly.
I only have to worry about mommy, and she's good with anything I give her. So
That part.
it's
But
I'm
you
not
see what I'm
killing
saying?
myself. Yes, it's just like
No,
it's
no, no,
about
no,
not
no, no.
killing
Let me tell
following
you
that same pattern, because I
that
think
part.
about, mommy growing up. I
Right.
swear to you, I'm gonna tell you right now, mommy used to cook every single day. She worked full
Mhm.
time, come home, had made a meal.
Yep.
There was no, "Oh, let me
And
No
no,
reheat
like,
or
leftovers.
frozen dinners.
nothing."
We have
She
to
And
would
fix.
make
no, like, frozen dinners
no
We have to
frozen dinner. It's just
every
like a
day.
whole ass meal.
Every
And
day.
then she used to do all of our laundry till
Wait, and you
we were
forgot she also
adults.
packed Poppy's lunch because he worked 2 jobs. So she would pack his lunch so he would take it to work the next day. But that's why she would resent us when we would wake up late on a Saturday morning, like, "I oficio," and it's like, "Yeah, chill, lady. Like, the dust ain't going nowhere. We're gonna vacuum. It's still gonna be there. Nobody's coming over today."
You know what loving yourself is? You know what loving yourself is? Is saying no. Loving yourself is saying no. Saying
That's
no to them and yes to you. And you know what? Let me tell you something. All of our children, we have a blended family. All of the children learn how to do their laundry at 11 years old. No, 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 no. Aquí no. You wanna know why? Because if I have to smell those hormones, no, thank you. Because
oh, oh, yeah. Oh,
preteen
yeah.
hormones is a thing. Okay. 11 years old, all of my children learned how to do their laundry. By 15, all of them knew how to clean the bathrooms. Okay. And hallelujah. Ahí está. So, and guess what? And in this house, so back in the day
Mhm.
when we first started, me and my husband,
And
one day he did it one time and
them.
never did it again. Okay. One day he came home and said, "Y la comida." And I said, ¿Y dónde carajo tú piensas que estoy haciendo todo el día? Right? I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? I work too. Just
Right.
because I work from home doesn't mean I'm not working. Right? So one day, we had a long conversation. I said, "You want me to be pretty, prim, and proper and ready to get together with you and share our love and all this." I said, "Did you ever think that you have me doing all these things or you're expecting me to
Mhm.
do all these things
Yeah.
and I have no energy for you?" I said, "Maybe if you picked up a broom and mopped, you might get some." How about and guess what? To this day, this man mops and cleans every place we've ever lived in and vacuums de todo. You
Right.
wanna know why? Because he understands now that the burden that I've carried isn't the burden that we should be
Right.
traditionally showing our children.
Oh,
We don't want our daughters doing that. And we don't want our sons expecting that either. So everybody has a job in this house. Everybody from the little one to the old one. They all have a job, including my husband. If we work together, then it's less stress for everybody. But if you expect just one person to do everything, then the foundation is already crumbling. Because even in a foundation, when you have a foundation of a house, you have the studs, right? You have the studs and you have your wood. But guess what? If all this pressure's on one stud, the rest of the
right.
house starts getting off center. And then you wonder why the women in our family are
Yeah.
always bitter. Because I'm gonna say that they're always angry. Think
Yes.
about it, they're always angry about something. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but it's always something. Oh, how are you, mommy? How are you feeling? Ah, está bien. I was like, in the next 5 minutes, I'm like, you know what? Pero
Yes.
dormí así, and they like, "Aquí." I'm like,
And wait, our
you
mother
said you
and
were
the
okay.
Theas in our family,
What?
they would have resting bitch phase. And I'm like, yeah, it's just like
all the time.
But they're happy. Dike. Happy. I'm like, okay. I guess.
They go, or this one I like to hear. Oh, I'm happy if you're happy. What? Say,
Yeah.
I used to think that too. I'm happy if they're happy, but all my family was happy, but I wasn't. So I started resenting
Right.
them, and that's when I knew there was a problem. When you
Yes.
start resenting your family, hate is coming behind that. Hate is coming behind that because they're living the life because you gave it to them, because you allowed it. But I keep telling people, esto sigue, this keeps happening
Right.
because you keep allowing the behavior. And that's why I always tell people, my job is to teach people, not that I do it. No. I'm just the reflection of what
Right.
you can do for yourself. I'm the mirror. My job is to teach people how to turn your generational curses into generational
Praise
blessings.
God.
Why can't we pass that down? Why can't we pass that down? Like, hello, by the time you're 10, you're smart enough to run a smartphone, you can run
Yeah.
some dishes, some laundry, learn how to clean a window, learn how to sweep, mop. Mira, they have these things called Swiffers now. You can, it's even, yeah, back in the day, my grandmother had the tea. It was the tea with the fucking towel. And el trapo,
It worked
yo,
though.
that
It
tea
worked.
mop, that little, oh, I hated that. It worked, but now my kid's like, oh, I'm gonna get the Swiffer. And my husband always said, Mira, and back in the day, and my mom's like, y el
Right.
trapo. I'm like,
It's
mommy,
called a
aquí no
scepter.
trapo.
Yeah. Mm.
Aquí no trapo. Like, oh, pero but the funny thing is, there's some things
Yes.
that they taught
Yes.
me that are
Yes.
beautiful. Don't get it twisted. They taught me, they taught me so much love. They taught me so much love of family. They taught me so much love of communication. They taught me, because even though we didn't communicate correctly, but we did communicate. It taught me so much love of our culture, of our music, of our food, of our traditions. They did
Yeah.
teach you that. They taught me how to be responsible. They taught me how to be dependable. They taught me how to be proud. They did, they taught me so many good things, but there's so many things hidden behind that
Right.
they were ashamed of. That's what I didn't like. So when I got to a point in my life that I was ashamed, that I had thoughts of
Mhm.
not waking up, I was like, you know what? Let me just try to take myself out because
Right.
my kids can't see that. I thought I was doing a benefit. Mind you, I
Yes.
would have ended up hurting them way more
Yep.
if I would have given up
Absolutely.
back then. And that's love thyself. Loving yourself is falling in love with yourself, flaws and all. Because your flaws are not flaws, they're just
How do you
lessons you just
foster
never
that?
realized
How do
yet.
you foster that? How to love yourself?
You start by saying no to everybody else. Like I said, no to everybody else and yes to you. Like, say yes to you. Like, si algo si something te pica, like, oh, like, you know what? I want to try Pilates. And then you tell somebody, oh, eso
Right.
Pilates, ¿qué Pilates? ¿Qué es esa mierda? Like, first of all,
Mhm.
why'd you tell? That's the one thing in our culture. We talk too much. Shut your mouth. That is your calling. Si te picó Pilates,
Right.
Pilates para ti y nadie más. So you go tell so and so, and because they don't know how to stretch a goddamn leg, they gonna hate on your ass because you want to stretch your damn legs and do Pilates. They're like, that's crazy. I don't know why you doing Pilates. Pilates is expensive, and Pilates for white people. First of all that stretching started from us. Let's get it correct, because I just came
Right.
from Ghana and
Right.
saw all the things. Okay, so well, we
Yeah.
motherland originated it all.
That's
Okay,
true.
so that's a discussion for another day. But you telling people things that have been dropped in your spirit, and because they don't understand it, they make you think and doubt your calling. But if it was a calling for everybody, it'd be called a conference call. This is a single call.
It's not a
So
conference
keep your
call.
mouth
Yes.
shut, y vaya a picar and try Pilates. And guess what? If you try Pilates and you didn't like it, you checked it off. And that's the thing that I don't understand about our culture. We get these amazing ideas, we get these
Right.
impressions, we get these innovations, and we tell somebody, and because we got dumbass number one and dumbass number two,
Yep.
and 9 times out of 10 is our own blood,
I don't
telling us they don't
understand.
like
Yeah.
it or they don't
Mhm.
understand it. They make us doubt our intuition, where this information came from. It came from the crown, from a source, whether you believe in science, whether you believe in spirituality, it came from some source, some innovation that could make you complete or make you feel content with your life or help you deal with situations in your life. You tell so and so, and
Right.
because they don't like it, you're not gonna do it.
Yes.
We've all done it. We've
Absolutely.
all been at fault about that. So now I keep my mouth shut and I just do it. And my husband's like, when you do that? I'm like, because I was told to do it. Yeah, and he don't question me no more. Like I'm like, oh, I got this. He's like, okay, like he understands. Like, and I tell him too, like, listen to your intuition. I had to teach my husband to listen to his intuition because again, he was trained, taught, and conditioned to provide for his family and not speak about it. So I'm like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
I need communication here. Well, like again, that's a
Yep.
cultural thing. For the men in our culture,
Yeah.
you don't talk about your emotions.
No, it's
You'll punk.
interesting
You do
because
that.
when we started the podcast in season 1, I shared with you that we had topics about boundaries, dealing with grief, and being
Mhm.
a caregiver, all types of things. And one of my cousins, male cousin, he reached out to me and he's like, I'm so grateful that you guys are talking about these topics because I never even realized like how I'm just not in touch with like not in touch with my feelings and being vulnerable. And I appreciate you guys creating a space to be able to do that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, yeah, I want and that's even the calling to do this podcast, it just came to me and literally it was like 2 people, they just happened to say in different occasions, like, "You should have your own podcast." I was like, "Oh my god, I think I should." Apparently, all I need is 2 people to tell me to do something and I'm doing it. But I was like, that's the creator telling me, like, "Girl." And honestly, the only person that I could think of doing this with was my sister. She knows me in a way that on a
Right,
soul level, like, I call her she's my soul sister, and she's my sister's sister on this plane, but I know, like,
right,
she knew me since I was in the womb that she and I had been in. So, for me, I was like, "Okay, I could do this journey with her." And I remember one time you told me, you're like, "Yeah,
right.
you're gonna get into some spiritual work." I was like, "What, like, making candles?" That's what I was thinking about. But this is a way of I'm like, "This is a different way." We are providing a platform to allow people to really think about these things that we don't talk about within our communities, right? And being really transparent
Right.
about it. And then it's like, well, how do you get there? How do you foster that? And it's like, yeah, even if you're not ready to do the Love Thyself package with you, you still share a lot of tidbits and tips that like for people to think about and consider.
Yeah.
And I think about for myself when it comes to how do I foster love for myself and hold space for myself, it's really being mindful about how I speak to myself. What do I say to myself? Because I'm talking to myself the
Mhm.
most. I'm listening to myself the most, right? And it's like doing that. And
Right.
that's how I hold space for myself. And I think, what you're doing, that's ultimately you're telling people, like, listen to yourself, right? Be kind too.
Right.
It's an accepting of the fact that
Yeah.
we're not meant to be perfect because to your point, we're here to learn lessons, life lessons.
And again, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to break that stigma,
Yeah.
especially in the Korean culture,
Yes.
and just and
Yes.
Black and Brown culture and Indigenous culture. It's just because again we've been
Right.
demonized for so many different reasons. Um, I've even
Mm.
been demonized because I'm too light. Like I'm an ally. First of all, we all know I had nothing. I
Right.
had nothing. Like my son is black, but I know my skin color can
Yeah.
get
There's a
a
privilege
lot
that comes
more
with
in
it.
this
Mhm.
country or any other country. But again,
That's
I
right.
will stand in front of my son all day, every day. Because I love him, but I had to love myself more to be able to
Yeah.
sacrifice my life for his. Do you see what I'm saying? And so when it comes to loving yourself, you have to say yes to you and no to everybody else. And that's hard because again, you think you're letting people down. No, when people come back and clap back or try to give you that guilt trip, it's
Mhm.
because they're the ones benefiting that you don't have a boundary up with them in the first place. Come on now. Like when you say no to them because you're tired, because you're mentally tired, or you don't have it in you to have this conversation, or like, yo, I'm going through something. I literally told one of my godchildren today, they text me like, oh, madrina, da 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 da. And they're texting me, and I wrote back,
Mhm.
honestly,
Yeah.
I don't have the space for this. So it reminded them like like, yo, check in. Like, hi, madrina,
Right.
I need some guidance. Do you have space? Like, come on, common courtesy. Because guess what? Even though you're not
Yeah.
paying me, it's still an exchange of energy. A conversation with your partner, a conversation with your children, a conversation with your parent, a conversation with your colleague, your coworker, your friend, your ex colleagues, whatever they were, whatever they are, it's still an exchange of energy. What are you getting out of that? And if it's not serving you, like we were talking about before, if
Yeah.
it's not serving you, you cut it off. And it's that simple. And let the chips fall where they may. It
No.
doesn't mean you have to have a fight with somebody to stop dealing with them. No, you have to start loving yourself enough. Like, I don't need to entertain myself with that vibration. Let them raise up to my level, and we'll
Right.
see if we'll see if we're in alignment then. They may still be here and you may be here, or you may be here and they may be here. It don't matter. But if you're in alignment, guess what? The time and place will come where you two can come together and have that conversation. But that also requires loving yourself. And I'm saying loving yourself, basically loving yourself is just embracing who you are, good and bad. And I tell people, the more honest you are with yourself, even in your crap, like, you know what? I'm still mad at so and so, but I know one day I'll let it go. Guess what?
Right.
Una puerta se
Right.
abrió. Oh, you know what? I'm still mad at my dad. Let's say, for example, I had my
Right.
father pass away. We did not end on good terms. That was the one parent in my life that
Mm-hmm.
I still have conflict with. You know what? I'm still mad at you, Dad. I know you're gone, but I know you're around me. I'm still mad at you, but one day I'm gonna get it right and we're gonna work through this. Guess what? I get blessed even in my mess because I was authentic. It's never been about, oh, I'm positive, light and love. Da, da, da. No, it's about shadow and pain because the human existence is about your evolution. And I'm gonna say this. I always say this all the time. You are a spiritual or an energetic being, however you label that, having a human experience. But people forget it is the human experience that raises your
That's right.
energy or your spirituality.
Absolutely.
You can't have one without the other. And people are like, oh, I
You
want to be so
are. You're
spiritual.
already
Like,
there.
it's called human. It's called humanity. Or people tell me, oh, what's my purpose? I get that question every day. To be human.
Yeah.
Because
Again,
that's
you think an external factor outside of you is what defines you, and it absolutely does not.
they don't care if you're a barista at Starbucks, and they don't care if you're the mechanic at Joe's, and they don't care if you're the server at Red
No.
Lobster. They don't care. You do whatever you want. They don't care what you do with your life. They care about what are you learning with your life. And I say they as the universe or spirit or creator, whatever you align with. It's all about what are you learning. And if you're not learning it, you got to do it again. It's just like a test in school. You don't pass the
Right.
test, you got to take the lesson again.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm like, I'm trying to learn all the lessons. I'm learning
I
all
know
of the
you.
lessons.
I'm trying to evolve right here, right now.
No, it is true. And part of that is being okay with not caring about what other people think about me. Like at this point, like, I just don't care. And it's work
Yeah.
daily for me to do that because I have to go against the conditioning of, look, you're representing the family when you go outside. And I'm a Black woman. I'm
Eso.
in a corporate setting. I'm representing all Black people. So I got to act a certain way. Now it's just like, I don't care. Like either you like me, you don't, not my business. I'm going to do what's right for me. And this is why I'm so grateful to have had you on this episode because I feel like we've talked about so many facets of it and they're all, but also not that many. It's just like ultimately is right. It's like there's so many layers to it, but at the same time, it's like, but it all goes back to the same theme of it's putting yourself first, loving yourself. Things will click into place once that happens. And so
Yeah.
I want to take this opportunity to please remind folks where they can find you online because there's so much that you have to offer and share. And there's no way we can do all of that in this one episode because you're bigger than that, honestly. So please let our listeners know where they could find you online.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that compliment. I receive it because I used to be one that,
Yes.
we don't take compliments well either. So thank you for the compliment. I do appreciate that. I received that. You can find me on all social media platforms at Readings by Vida. You can find me on Twitter, on Twitch, on TikTok,
Look
on
at you on
Instagram.
Twitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
My husband put me onto Twitch and I,
Right.
I watch his shows because he's a
Yes.
DJ. So, we support the family. So, yeah, I'm even on Twitch, on YouTube. On YouTube, I have the channel. It's the Almighty Pineapple LLC. And my website is thealmightypineapple.com or readingsbyvita.com. You can find me that way too. And I'm here to serve. That's my job. And I do lots of things. I have lots of services, I have lots of products, but the most important job that I have is reminding my community that we need to love ourselves first. And I found
Right.
I've always been able to do readings, but Love Thyself, it has been a baby for me. And she's
Praise
growing
God.
and she's thriving. And I'm becoming. And the only reason I keep continuing to do it is because Love Thyself isn't easy for me either. Because again, I have to be that mirror, and sometimes I don't like being that mirror. And I am becoming the person that I needed as a child. So not only am I loving the person while they're going through the program, but I'm also honoring and loving my inner child while doing this work with them. So even when someone is doing the work themselves, I'm doing it
Right.
with you. Another layer of
Oh,
my
and
inner child is getting acknowledged. So where people take the program, you're not just helping yourself, you're also helping my inner child because I'm standing up, becoming the individual that I never had as a
yeah,
child. And not that I didn't have stability, but what she needed,
yeah.
what little V needed, wasn't available. Not that people weren't there, but it just wasn't emotionally available, and that is
Yes.
okay. As an adult, I understand that. But when someone takes this course, I give it my all. I give it everything, and so I stand up and become the mother to myself, and the mother to my community, and the mother to my children, and expand in so many different facets that I never received at 1,000%. I had it on specific levels, and they did the
That's
best they
right.
could, and I love them for it.
Yep.
But I know I needed more. But no one else is
Yeah.
responsible for more
Yeah.
but me.
Awesome. Oh, well, my heart is so full from this enlightening conversation with this beautiful human being, Vida. Love you. Thank you so much for
Love
being a
you
part of our
too. Thank you.
experience. We are really grateful that we're just in our second season and we continue to get love and support. And the fact that, you're here willingly to just join a part of this conversation. Nachi and I truly appreciate it. And so, for those of you out there, I truly hope that all of you can get some nugget of wisdom, insight that'll impact you in the best way. We always say this, there's a lot of noise out there, but our message is consistent. Stop getting distracted by the smoke and mirrors, tune out the noise, and focus on your purpose in life. What brings you joy in life? We're meant to be joyful, so live that truth and vibrate higher. And always, thank you for listening.